Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hey everyone, welcome to another video on the JayBee
Hello.
and Milly channel. Today we are going to be reviewing The Ghost of the Red Baron. Hope I got that correct. Now this is another instance where in the new Scooby-Doo movies, the gang are going to be meeting with the Three Stooges.
Hey, that's awesome. There's not one of them, not two of them, but in fact three of them. So,
And is this the third time we've seen them?
I think the second time.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I guess if you haven't seen this episode before, haven't seen it for a while, which I certainly think was the case with me, ultimately the gang are kind of on a bit of a ranch and the crops are getting damaged by a plane flown by the Red Baron. So ultimately, you know, pilots keep quitting and one of the Three Stooges has to step in, kind of save the day with flying the plane to spray the fertilizer and everything and make sure the crops survive. Ultimately, a bit of an air battle in the end with the Red Baron where they try and take him down to solve the mystery.
Absolutely. So we've spoken about the Stooges in the first episode that they featured in, and like with the second Don Knotts episode, we get a situation where they show up and the gang are just kind of like, they know it's the Stooges, but there's never any reference to like, oh,
hey,
do you remember that?
This for you guys. Woo.
And it does annoy me in hindsight now that it's all on one DVD, now that it's one continuity. But I can understand that, I guess, at the time, and even now for reruns, like, they want to be able to do it out of order and everyone can just watch it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think just one line of, oh yeah, remember this would have, like, ruined anyone's experience. But I understand trying to make it as individual as possible. So, it's alright. It's alright.
So, as I said, this episode starts with a plane pretty much starts anyway, with the plane flying overhead and seeing the Red Baron ghost. Now, something I have to kind of pick up on here is they talk about this being a German plane for World War II. It's got it's got an English flag on it at the side, right? The red cross, white background.
Maybe.
They say it's the German
I was
plane.
thinking it had that. Was that thing not German, where it was almost a black cross, but then a white cross around it?
I know. I'm pretty sure I just saw a red cross with a white background.
Maybe. It's weird. I don't remember the exact type. I'm sure I've written it down, but I'm not sure at what point they point out what plane it is. They definitely do make reference to the war, though, which is kind of
interesting.
Crazy how the war is canonical within Scooby, and it's like there's so many times that I pick up on stuff like that and just imagine the characters. Like even something like that's. I mean, it's not a nothing movie, but it's such a light-hearted movie, but with implications like that. When we were watching Madagascar recently, and the World Trade Center was in the flashback, but then obviously it's not in the skyline in the recreation. So clearly they've not depicted those, you know, scenarios, but you can imagine them happening within that world. And like with this, it just blows my mind that within the world of Scooby, something like the World War happened. And maybe that's where these theories come from nowadays, that the gang are draft dodgers and they're just traveling around to avoid being drafted. Again, I don't really do any credence to those theories because I don't know anything about it, but it's definitely interesting to even just consider that there's wider implications to the world.
Okay, so JayBee, I know you don't always like your humanoid villains, but what do you think to the Red Baron?
I actually really like the Red Baron. I didn't associate the Red Baron with being a humanoid at first, because I was a bit disappointed, a bit happy at the same time, because I was almost thinking the start of this is identical story-wise and concept-wise to Wednesday is Missing. Like they're in a location that clearly someone wants or that someone has an interest for. There's something that shows up intermittently and is just flying around dropping things that cause trouble. So the Red Baron's plane very much acts in the same way that the Vulture did in that episode. And I was happy in a way because I enjoyed that episode and the premise, but also disappointed in that, okay, so now we've got the Addams Family episode, but with characters that I like less than the Addams Family. But then the second the Baron gets involved, and you hear their voices, like the second they speak, I feel like it unlocks a completely new character away from, oh, there's just the plane. Like I would say that the Red Baron, I think, is underrated. I think the Red Baron deserves their place. Almost I want to say that they should have been in like the background of Monsters Unleashed and stuff. Like They're good. I really like them. What about you?
I really like them too. I do think, you know, kind of calling back to the war and everything really does put a unique spin on it, which I do always appreciate when they try and step away from something they've done before, and I do feel like they tried to do that here. But of course, one thing that's not stepping away from something they've done before is once the pilot quits, we see the arrival of the Three Stooges, one of which is going to take over the job as the pilot. So what do you think about bringing, of any of the guests they could have brought back, to bring back the Three Stooges? Perhaps, you know, is there a guest that you'd have preferred to see come back, such as, you know, like Sandy Duncan or Phyllis Diller?
See, I don't know if the Stooges in real life had any pilot experience, but I think, Sandy Duncan, because it could have easily have been a war movie set, or something to do with stunts that would have been a bit more interesting.
Interesting. Ultimately, the gang are warned to leave, and so in there lies the element of threat behind all of this. Someone physically wants rid of the gang, and we also see kind of like a variation on that there's now a mini plane flying around as well.
I just thought of something. Sorry. No, you can go first, but I've just thought of a concept.
Do you think that there's kind of too many planes in this? You know, there's one for the Red Baron, there's the one for using the crops, there's then this smaller plane as well.
No, I think it's fine. It gets a bit chaotic, but I think in a fun way, you know, like going through the scenes, you know, where they're just in the air and there's like the Red Baron's getting startled at the little plane. That reminds me of stuff like from the Wacky Races and stuff. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, they could have toned it down a bit. But I think more with the Stooges, I think there's only that conflict because the Stooges need to be involved. I think if it was just Shaggy and Scooby, you know, doing the remote control helicopter versus the Red Baron's normal helicopter, I think that would have almost been more compelling. But in terms of like my idea, I don't understand why they didn't get like some type of pilot guest. Because if we're saying that people like the Three Stooges or Laurel and Hardy were like dead before these were featured, I think it would have been a really cool time to use this to promote or like to guest star a famous pilot. Like Amelia Earhart would have been fun, right?
Yeah, I thought exactly the same thing. And
media tells you things. I legit, like, I don't know if this makes me swine, but I only know who Amelia Earhart is because of Night at the Museum too.
I back that as well.
But imagine, like, it would have been such a cool thing to, like, show, you know, like, unique women. Kids would have gone, oh my gosh, like, this woman actually exists, that's amazing. And it also would have made sense story-wise. Again, maybe that's a bit too, like, oh, who would know who that was, or...
I mean, by
like,
way of
maybe
learning...
they're dead or not, like...
By way of learning curve, you really could encompass quite a few things like that. So you could have had an episode that explained the history behind Amelia Earhart. You could have another one where it's like people going into space and learning about, you know, like Neil Armstrong and that kind of thing.
And maybe they corrected this a bit in Guess Who, because looking at some of the episodes, like there is stuff like Abraham Lincoln, I think, is a guest. And even characters from fiction like Sherlock. I'm sure there's more, but like there's definitely a precedent now for like featuring historical figures, and I don't know if there's any upcoming like that are, I guess, notable but not famous. Because even the Harlem Globetrotters, they're gonna be like as famous as, say, if there was a British version of Scooby-Doo and they got the meets Manchester United. Yeah. So, you know. But I like it. I think it would have been a good idea, but who knows? I mean, that's just me getting bogged down. I just think it would have been cool to have a different guest, because they've reused Don Knotts, reused the Three Stooges, which isn't a problem, because I actually think that both Don Knotts ones kind of work for Don Knotts. But the Three Stooges, I think maybe they could have been in another episode. Maybe they could have been a different guest here. But it doesn't take away from the Baron. Another interesting reference that we do get later on. So we've had the war. Shaggy also references Adam and Eve in this.
Oh.
Which again is kind of like a bit of backstory possibly on Shaggy. Kind of a funny joke because it was in the sequence when they were struggling to get apples from the tree. But it's so weird if you think about the context of that. He was making quite a funny apple joke, but then it's like, well, how many kids are going to understand that reference to Adam and Eve? And I don't know. Maybe it's because America's a bit like that. Maybe it's because, like, it was the time. I mean, would you have understood an Adam and Eve reference as a kid? Because I'm sure I would have understood some, but
I feel like I'd have understood it. I have quite a religious family. My sister went to Sunday school, all that kind of thing.
I did nothing. Maybe Ganesh, but yeah, there's definitely some interesting thing that happens. I like how the Baron becomes more than just a figure that shows up to cause trouble.
One thing I like is how we get a completely different setting here. Like, obviously we've just been reviewing Where Are You, and quite a lot of the settings to that are the same, admittedly. But with this, like, they try and do the entire thing in the air. Like, there's a point where Scooby just goes and jumps on a little plane. Velma gets stuck in one of the planes. Then, like, you have a stage where there's just everyone in planes. Velma's in a plane. Stooges are in a plane. The Red Baron's in a plane. Scooby's on the plane.
Snake's on a plane.
Snake's on.
But yeah, and you have to appreciate as well that probably helps the animators out a lot, because a lot of the times for plane sequences, they could so easily and like nicely reuse clouds without it looking weird, or just have like literally that thing that almost looks like one stroke of a paintbrush of blue or purple, which I like, because when you look at some of the sequences, even though they're like the classic almost like quote-unquote lazy Hanna-Barbera backgrounds where it's just, you know, brush, just the fact that you can look at it and tell that someone's done that by hand is just such a thing that you rarely get to see now, that it's just, I think it's aged well in a way, in that you can look back and appreciate what was.
I mean, some of the backgrounds on this are ultimately stunning. Like, I really like, you know, when Shaggy's going down the river and there's the watermill.
Oh yeah.
That's done really nicely. It looks stunning.
Yeah. I mean, they do a lot here. In fact, is this the episode where we have our first look at the Mystery Machine from above?
Yes, I believe you did comment on that.
And I'm not happy about it. I prefer it to be blank and the railing, but it's so cool how they envisioned the whole flowery thing to go along the top as well. I just think it's amazing that they've just tried with new angles. As you say, I just think this is one of the more inventive episodes so far.
It certainly is, and I mean, they keep the plane there right until the end. I think ultimately Scooby lands the small plane on the Red Baron.
Oh yeah, they completely destroy him. They legit just destroy him.
And then I'm kind of unfamiliar with the unmasking here. Can you remember who it was?
Yeah, so it's this geezer called Siegfried, who, well, I guess their motive is to unleash poison to the crops so the farm, it goes bad, and so it's like the standard story, so it can be bought for a lot cheaper and then sold for a lot higher. Standard story, classic motivation.
Great
Can't
villain.
really complain.
So JB, is this episode for you a smash or pass?
It's a clear smash. I enjoy it a lot. It's amazing. There's some stuff that I can nitpick, like, oh, the guests and stuff, but ultimately they don't even take away from it. There are some fun sequences in this. It's almost, if it wasn't for some of the other episodes here, this would stand out as being one of my favourites. It's just the fact that it's overshadowed by ones that I think are a bit more entertaining, that this is just a really good episode to me. So I'll just smash it and leave it like that. How about you?
For me, it's a smash as well. I absolutely love the villain. I think it's a really good, unique take on so many elements. Like, I think the villain in themselves were relatively unique despite the motive, and I just think the fact that it's almost turned into a mystery in the sky is actually quite exciting in a concept of itself. So yeah, for me, a definite smash.
Hey, and speaking about smash, community
Happy
news.
birthday.
Oh, I like it. So today is the birthday of Smash Ashton Hardy. Happy birthday to him. Link in the description. Make sure to like spam him with fun happy birthday messages.
We love you.
Absolutely amazing. They're probably going to be streaming today as well, so that's going to be fun for people to watch.
Yeah, they said they were streaming tonight at their time.
Ooh.
So they are like BST +7.
Yeah, I don't know. Utah time.
I mean, I'm gonna say if we quickly turn this around, they're probably gonna be looking at streaming at the time we get this out. So
Ooh.
watch this, then head straight over.
Yeah, or at the same time, who knows? Who knows? You can get a double dose of wholesome content. That'll be fun. But yeah, birthday wishes to you. Any other community news? I don't think there is.
Oh, clip of Trick or Treat.
Yeah, that was brilliant. We tried to do a reaction to it, but it got blocked. I'm gonna try again though, because I think some people have started uploading it. Again, there's also some rumblings of some new toys coming to fast food restaurants, but I think for America it's Wendy's. So I don't think we get Wendy's over here, so it's a bit of an L for us. But if you like Wendy's, if you live in America or Canada or wherever it is, then screw you. I don't know, like it's good.
Hey JayBee, I can take you to Wendy's in a couple of
No,
weeks.
you can't do it. You can't do it. It can't be done. It can't be done.
I'm going to see my sister.
It can't be done. No one. Okay, well, it can't be done. What else? I think that's it. Again, we're just gonna keep doing our thing. There's interviews going out. It'll be announced when the next review goes out, like the same day as that. So yeah, if you do want to see more, then please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.